Begin today the Gemara on the Tzad Gimel Amud Beis towards the bottom of the Amud, about 9 lines up from the bottom of the Amud, where it says Mechdi. First word on the line is Sefer. It was mentioned right before this regarding the Sefer of Daniel, that Daniel was Zeiche, that he has a name on a Sefer in Nach. So, in connection to that, the Gemara brings a similar thing regarding the Sefer of Ezra, that it's called in the name of Ezra. So the Gemara will explain. Zok the Gemara, Mechdi, let's see. Call Mili de Ezra, all of the things that are written in the Sefer of Ezra, Nehemiah ben Chachaliah amrinhu. Nehemiah is actually the one that said it. And Nehemiah ben Chachaliah, so if so, the question is, Nehemiah, my taimele ikri sifra al shmei. Why isn't the Sefer of Ezra called on his name? Now, what we have today actually is we have a Sefer Ezra, and then there's another Sefer called Nehemiah. But the thing is, as you see here in the Gemara and the emissaries, as Chazal explained this, that there was only one Sefer that was called Ezra. There was no Sefer called Nehemiah. And most of it starts from where Nehemiah begins speaking. Most of it is all Nehemiah talking. But later on, I'm not sure at what point in history, somebody went and divided it and gave it a name Ezra, and then gave the rest the name Nehemiah. But in Chazal, in the Gemara here and in other places, the Sefer is called just Ezra, not Nehemiah. Even though it's all, most of it is mamish the words in Nehemiah, and even the whole thing, as the Gemara says, it's written by Nehemiah. So why wasn't he Zeiche that it's on his name? The answer is, because for what he did, he took credit for himself. Shenema, the pasuk says, Hashem, remember me for the good that I did. The pasuk there goes on to say that he says, everything that I did for the people. So he took credit for what he did. A person that does, it says in the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, you shouldn't be machzik tova to yourself. And so therefore he wasn't zeiche that it was called in his name. In fact, the Gemara, but David Nami Meima Amma, David the Melech also says, Zachreni Hashem, B'ritzayna Mecha, Pagdeni B'shuasecha. Remember me, Hashem, for the will of your people. Remember me for the salvation, So it seems like David the Melech is also asking Hashem to remember him for the good that he did. So the Gemara says, no, it doesn't say that in the pasuk. David, Rachmi Hudikaboy. David is just merely asking Hashem for mercy, that he should remember him, but he wasn't machzik tova for himself, for what he did for the people. Okay, so the Gemara says another pshat for this regarding David HaMelech. Rav Yosef says, "Mipnei shesiper b'gnusan shel rishayim." That Daniel, that is. Daniel, when he spoke about himself, he also spoke about. We're talking here about. Nehemiah. Thank you. We're talking about Nehemiah. Correct. Nehemiah, when he spoke, he also spoke negatively about the ones that came before him. Shenema, because we see, he said, Nehemiah, well, what's really called Ezra, but we call Nehemiah today, he said, the earlier ministers, in other words, the one that were leading Klal Yisrael, Ashalafane, that were before me, they were heavy for the people, they took bread and wine, echad, kesef, shkolim, arbayim, they took 40 coins and so on, arbayim, v'goymer. We're at the end of Tzad Gimel. You see where we are? At the end of Tzad Gimel Amud Beis. So he spoke negatively about the ones that were before him. And what he was saying here in the pasuk, he included Daniel as well, which was before him and which was actually greater than him, greater than Nehemiah. Daniel came down into the Churban, the earliest wave that came down to the Churban, as it says there in the pasuk. Rashi brings a Chodesh V'Masker. Daniel was from the earliest that came down to Golus Bavel. Nehemiah was years later. Nehemiah is one later when they came up to build the second Beis HaMikdash. So he spoke negatively about the ones before him, including Daniel. Now, Minol and the Gadol Mimeno, from where do we actually see that Daniel was greater than Nehemiah? The Chassid, because the pasuk says, Daniel Levadi es Hamara, that Daniel says, I myself saw this Mara, this appearance. This was an appearance of Malachim to him. But the men that were with me, they did not see this. But there was a great fear that fell upon them. And they ran away and they hid. Now, who were the men that were together with Daniel? The men that were with me did not see this Mara. Who are these men? The Nevi'im, Chagis, Charyam, Malachi, that were with him, they did not see what he saw. It's not so. Rashi says, what do we see from here? Chagis, Charyam, Malachi, they were Nevi'im, and they did not see what Daniel saw. So Daniel was even greater than them, at least in this sense. So definitely Daniel, which was not Daniel, sorry, Nehemiah, that is Nehemiah, that was not a navi like Chag Yizchariah Malachi. He was definitely on a lower level than Daniel, that saw this matter, that saw this revelation of the Malachim. Okay, but now here the Gemara parenthetically points out that Inu Adifi Minei, that they, which are Chagi, Zechariah, and Malachi, that were Nevi'im, they were greater than him on one level. But on another level, the Iu Adif Minayu, he was greater than them. And the Gemara explains, Inu Adif Minei, they are greater than him. The Inu Nevi, they were prophets. The Iu Lav Navi, and he was not a prophet. Daniel is not a prophet. Now, in the simple pshat of the Gemara, it means that he was not a Navi at all. He saw this Mara that the Pasuk is saying here. He saw the Mara of Malachim, but he was not a Navi at all. But Rashi in Megillah, when he explains this, Rashi says Daniel was also a Navi, but he was not a Navi like Chag Yizchariah Malachi, that was a Navi that was sent by Hashem to say prophecy for Yidden. Daniel was not a Navi that was sent for Yidden. And on the other hand, Iu Adif Minayu, Daniel is greater than Chag Yizchariah Malachi, like we see here regarding this case. The Iu Chazak, he saw this appearance, but V'inu Lechazak, they did not see. Now the Gemara explains, if they did not see, so my time ivus. Why does it say that that they trembled, they got afraid, they didn't see? So what are they afraid of? So the answer is, afagav the inu lechazu, they didn't actually see midi anything but mazalai chazi, the mazel of their neshama saw, and therefore they sensed it, and that fear came upon them. And this is what's quoted in Chassidus in many places, that when you have the revelation that a person below physically doesn't actually appear to him and see it, but the neshama sees, the mazel of the neshama sees. Omer Ravina. Now Ravina says about this, Shmami no, from here we learn, Haiman de Mivis, one that gets afraid of such a kind of appearance, so then afagav di chazi, mazal chazi. Even if he doesn't see, but his mazel sees. And this is shaykh by every yid in different cases. Now, my takante, what should one do when he gets afraid like this? One eitzah is linshuf miduchte arbar gamidi. Let him jump out of this place where he's standing in 4 amas. 4 amas is the place of a person. So if you jump out of that place, so then you're out of that entity where you were before, that fear will go away from you. Inami or likri kriyashma. Let him say kriyashma. That will take away the fear. V'i koi b'makam atinoifes, and if he's in a place that's not clean and he can't say kriyashma, lein mahachi. Let him say the following: Ize the beitavche, the goats that are by the butcher, shmeina minoi, are fatter than me. This is sort of a message saying to the source that's throwing a fear upon him that there's another place that's better than me, that you should go there and don't remain with me.
So the cruising are a problem or not a problem?
We're not talking about cruzim over here. Talking about malachim that appeared to Daniel. In Chassidus, it's brought when you get to cruzim al yainim, how an neshama senses this.
Yeah, but it's a bad thing.
Yeah, even if it's a negative thing as well. Correct. That how you get rid of this fear that comes from a negative source. Okay, now the Gemara goes on to explain the pasuk, and here it begins a whole discussion and details regarding Sanhedrin. Sanhedrin was a king in the time of the first Beis Hamikdash, Melech Ashur, and he came to Eretz Yisrael to conquer Eretz Yisrael and to destroy the Beis Hamikdash, and it'll go through all the different details that we learn from Sukkim of what he did. So Lamarba Misra, the abundance of Misra means authority, or the Shalom, Ein Kates V'Gaimer, and peace, endless peace. So what is this pasuk saying? Now, what the Gemara is going to focus on is that the pasuk Lamarba Misra, the word marba, the way it's written in Tanakh is the mem is not written as a regular mem. The mem is written with a closed mem, the shloss mem, the end of the word, but it's in the middle of the word. So Rav Tanchon said, Dorish bar kapara b'tzipari, bar kapara darshan in tzipari about this word, mipnei ma kol mem shebem tzeteva pasuach. Mem in the middle of a word has an opening, but v'zeh sasam. This mem is written as a shloss mem in the middle of the word. Yeah, we learned about this. First, let's see what it says in the Gemara. So Bikesh HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Lasa is Chizkiyahu Mashiach. What the story over here is that the Eibishter wanted that Chizkiyahu should be Mashiach after the whole story of Sanhedrin and after his downfall. So then the Eibishter wanted that this should be the end of time and Chizkiyahu will be Mashiach. Sanhedrin Goig Magig, and Sanhedrin will be the fulfillment of the Nevuah about Goig that comes from Magig to come and attack the Yidden in Eretz Yisrael. But then what happened? The Midah of Din comes in front of Hashem and says, Master of the world, Umad David Melech Yisrael, She'omar Kam Meshiris V'Sishbachis L'Fanecha. David HaMelech sang and praised you, and Lo Yasisa Mashiach. You did not appoint him to be Mashiach. Chizkiah shasisa loy kol anisam alalu. Chizkiah, that you performed all these miracles for him. V'loy ama shir lefanecha, and he did not sing from you. Taseo Mashiach, you will appoint him to be Mashiach. Lekach nistatim. So therefore, it's nistatim. What does nistatim over here mean? That it was closed off. The Eibishter did not do this. So Rashi here teaches a few pshatim what the mem sosum in the word is. So in two pshatim, Rashi says that the mem sosum in the word is actually showing a negative point. The mem means this point, that the thought that Hashem had to make a Mashiach was taken away, was closed. That's why it's a closed mem in the negative. Another pshat that Rashi brings from Meiri V'Rabi, that it's because of Chizkiah himself, that his mouth was closed and he didn't sing to Hashem. That's why it's a closed mem. But then Rashi brings a pshat that's actually in the positive, that the closed mem refers to this, that the Eibishter wanted to close the tzaras of Yidden. He wanted to stop and get rid of all the tzaras of Yidden and bring Mashiach. This would be the end of time. That's the closed mem. So as you mentioned, we learned about this in a Maimer also, where the Rebbe speaks about this. This is in a Maimer of Yutas Kislev, Tavshin Tezayin. There's other places as well that it says, based on the Gemara and Shabbos, that the mem, the regular mem, is Maimer Pasuach, and the closed mem is Maimer Sosum. And it's a difference between Nigla de Teire and Pnimiyas Teire. And the Marba Misra refers to the deeper level of revelation of Elokus that comes in Pnimiyas Teire, and that's the source of this, that Eibishter wanted to appoint him to be Mashiach, to reveal the deepest secrets of Teire and of the Eibishter in the world. That's what the Maimer, the Mem Sosum refers to over here. The Gemara goes on here to say the story about this. Miyad, immediately, Pascha ha'aretz v'amra. The earth began to speak to Eibishter and said in front of the Eibishter, Ribono shel olam, Master of the universe, Ani omeres lefanecha shira tachas tzadik zeh. I will sing for you instead of this tzaddik, and v'asei Mashiach, and appoint him to be Mashiach. Pascha v'amra shira, the Aretz began to sing to Hashem lefanov, shenem, as it says, the knaf ha'aretz midas shamaynu. We heard from the corners of the world, of the earth, we heard songs, tzvila tzadik v'gaimen. Now, what does this word tzvila tzadik here mean? Amasad ha'elam lefanov, the sad of the world. The Eibishter places the whole world in the hands of a sad, and he says in front of the Eibishter, Ribono shel olam tzivyaynoi asei letzadik zeh. The word tzvi over here means the will of the tzaddik do for him, that he should be Mashiach. And so Yatza, so that's what it means, Tzvi Tzaddik. After the Oretz, the earth began singing for Hashem, so the Sara Olam said, do the will of the Tzaddik, that he should be Mashiach. The Eibishter responded, it's the continuation of the pasuk. It says, Yatza Baska v'Omra. Baska came out and said the words of the continuation of the pasuk. Razi li. This is my secret. It's a secret for me. Why Mashiach is not going to come now, and it's still going to take a while. Amanavi.
So he didn't want to he changed his mind about Chizkiah being Mashiach.
Yeah, of course. The Eibishter, that is. This is the Eibishter responding.
I'm saying it's not these reasons anymore.
No. Afterwards, the Eibishter says it's a secret. Razi li, it's my secret. So the Navi says, Oy li, this is all the lashon of the pasuk there. Oy li, that woe to me, that this is a secret, that this is still going to take a while. Ad masai. Until when will this be? Until when will we have to wait? Yatza Baska v'Omra. The Baska came out and said, Boigdim, Bogdu, or Bogad Boigdim, Bogdu. What does this mean? Amarav v'Teimer Rab Yitzchak, Ad asu Boizizi, or Boizizi the Boizizi. There'll be those that will come to plunder, meaning those that will hurt and attack Yidden, and they'll plunder. And then even more will come a second time, and even more to plunder again. Only after this will Mashiach come. Okay, so as you see over here, from this story you learn out that one of the ways to be zeichet to the coming of Mashiach is how? By singing Shidduch v'Sishbachas to the Eibishter when he makes a miracle. That's the point that we learn out from here. I think Gemara brings another story that we'll learn out another point similar, and also how are we going to be zeichet to the coming of Mashiach. The pasuk says, Masa duma elai koire miseir shemer ma milayla shemer ma milel v'gaimer. What's the meaning of this pasuk? So the Gemara again connects this pasuk to the question. This is a pasuk in that's I explained that before. 1 second, let's go. So Amar Rabbi Yechanan. So this pasuk over here, the Gemara is quoting over here now. This is a pasuk also in Yeshaya. So what does this pasuk mean? Amar Rabbi Yechanan. Rabbi Yechanan said, Oisei malach hamamuna laruchais. This pasuk is the Duma. When it says Masa Duma, the words of Duma. Who's this Duma? This is the Malach that's Mamuna on the Neshamas. Duma Shmait. The Malach that's Mamuna on the Ruchais, which is the Ruach, the Neshama that a person has, his name is Duma. Now, Neskaptzu kol Aruchais Eitzel Duma. all the ruchais, all the neshamas gathered to this Malach Duma, and Amrullah, they said to him, Shomer ma milayla, Shomer ma milel. The Shomer, the Eibishter that guards in the time of night, and it says here two expressions about night. Laila, and then it says again, ma milel, which refers to a second night. Some say this refers to the first Galus after the Chorban of the first Beis HaMikdash, and then the second Galus that we're in now. When is this going to end? So the pasuk there continues and says, Amar Shomer, Asa Baiker V'gam Loila. There'll be day, meaning after the first Galus, the Beis HaMikdash will be built again, but then V'gam Loila. There will be night again. And then the pasuk concludes, in Tebayun Bayu, Shuvu Asayu. If you will beg and ask for Mashiach, then he will come. So this is the second lesson we learn over here from this, that to bring Mashiach, we have to beg for it. We have to ask for it. Okay? As the Rebbe spoke about this and about this Gemara so many times, about saying and demanding ad Masai that Mashiach should come. Those are the two lessons we learn from the story. One is to sing for the Nissim that we see, and that will bring Mashiach, and the other is to demand and request for Mashiach to come. Okay, Tana Mishum Rabbi Papayas. Rabbi Papayas said about this story about Yechizkiyahu, that Gnayu Lechizkiya V'siyate. It's a embarrassment for Chizkiya and the ones that were with him, Shalayam Rishira, that they did not sing for the miracles, Acha Pas Charetz Vam Rishira. And the Aretz, the earth, sang to the Eibishter. Shanema, as we quoted before the pasuk, Miknafa Aretz Zmira Shemayim Tzvila Tzadik V'gaimer. That from the corners of the world, of the earth, we heard the song that it sang to the Eibishter. Now, Kayayitze Badavar, to bring another thing that's similar to this, Ataimer, it says in the pasuk, Vayoyme Yisrei. When Yisrei comes, Yisrei said, Baruch Hashem Asher Hitzel Eschem, that blessed is the Eibishter that he saved you. So Tana Mishum Rapapayis, he also said about this, Genai Hulu Moshe. This is also an embarrassment for Moshe and Veshishim Ribayin and the 600,000 of Yidden, Shalei Amru Baruch. They did not say Baruch Ad Shaba Yisrei Bama Baruch Hashem. Until Yisrei came and said this term of Baruch Hashem. Now, even though the Yidden said Shira, they did in this case it's different than Chizkiah. They did sing to the Eibishter, but not with this term of Baruch Hashem. There's something unique about this term of saying Baruch Hashem that's more even than the Shira that the Yidden said. We know what it says in Chassidus about the term of Baruch Hashem. Baruch means not just a bracha, but it's a mavrich and mamshich. It brings down the Eibush in the world. This term Baruch Hashem, Yisrael is the first one that came and said this. Now, parenthetically, the Gemara also brings something else that it says there about Yisrael, Vayichad Yisrael. So simply, Vayichad Yisrael means that he was happy when he heard what the Eibush did for Yidden. But it doesn't use the regular expression that he was happy. Simcha, it says Vayichad. So Rav and Shmuel, there's two opinions that Rav and Shmuel say about this expression. Rav Amar shehev echerav chad al b'sarei, that he brought a sword on his flesh, meaning he made a bris milah because he was Megayer. Or Shmuel Amar shenasi chidudim kol b'sarei, that when he heard the story of the downfall of the Mitzrayim, so his skin became chidudim, like he had goosebumps when he heard this. That it sort of, he was happy, but it bothered him at the same time. Amar Rav, and based on this, Rav said, this is what people say, Giyure, Eger, At Asara Dari, until 10 generations later, Lo Tavaz Yarmar Kameh. Do not embarrass a guy in front of him because it's still something that will touch him, that will bother him, like we see here by Yisrael. Okay, now here the Gemara will continue with the story of Sanhedrin. L'chein, the pasuk there says, Yishalach ha'oten Hashem tzvois b'mashmanov rozen. The Eibishter will send b'mashmanov, and those that are fat, that's a simple translation, rozen, that they will become thin. And this is referring to this, that the Eibishter will cause the downfall of Sanhedrin and his whole army. But here the Gemara will touch this term mashmanov. Mai b'mashmanov rozen. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Eibishter says, Yavai Chizkiyahu, sheyesh leishmayna shemes. The word mashmanov also means 8. So let Chizkiah, that has 8 names, come, v'yifram in Sancherev, and he will punish Sancherev, sheyesh l'shmein shemes, that also has 8 names. Where do we find this? Chizkiah, the Chsiv, it says regarding Chizkiah, when he was born, that Kiyeled Yulad Lanu, Ben Nitn Lanu, we had a child, a son that was born to us, Vatihi HaMisra Al Shichmai, and the authority was on his shoulders, and Vayikrishmai, and here they gave him the name, and here there's 8 different expressions of a name. Pele, Yoyitz, Kael, Gibor, Avi, Ad, Sar, Sholem. 8 different names. So therefore we see Chizkiah had 8 names. In fact, the Gemara, but besides these 8 names, Chizkiah, there's the name Chizkiah itself. Answers the Gemara, that name Chizkiah has a meaning to it, but that wasn't the names that he was called when he was born. Chizkiah means Shechaskei, Hashem strengthened him, or Davaracha, another pshat, Chizkiah means Shechizakas Yisrael Avim Shebashamayim. He strengthened the Yidden to learn Torah, to be connected to their Father in heaven. The Gemara is soon going to bring the story about this. Now, Sancherev also had 8 names. Sancherev means the Chsiv Bey. We see the 8 names of Sancherev because in here it brings from different places in Nach when it refers to Sancherev, and it always refers to him with a different name. One is Tiglas Palasar. It goes together. That's one name. Another is Palnasar. Another is Shalmanasar. Pul, Sargan, Isnafer, Rabba, Yakira. This is counted as three different names. The Snaper, it simply means Isnaper, Rabba, Yakira, that is the great and glorious Snaper. Now, here again, the Gemara asks, besides these 8 names, there's the name Sancherev itself. And it says the Gemara, that name Sancherev just means Shesichosai Riv, that his words were fighting against Hashem. Or Davaracha, another pshat, Shesach v'nicher dvarim klape maile. He spoke harshly against the Eibishter. Okay, but now here the Gemara goes back to this name that it said, the Snaper Rabbe V'Yakire, which simply means that he is the great and glorious Snaper. Why did he get this title in the Psukim Menach? Answer is because he did not speak about the gnus, the embarrassment. He didn't say anything negative about Eretz Yisrael. Now, what this is actually talking about is, and Sancherev, as we'll see the story over here, he is the one that exiled the 10 Shvatim from Eretz Yisrael to a very faraway place. Then when he came to the other Shvatim of Yehuda that were in Yerushalayim, and he wanted to exile them as well, and he spoke to them about the place that he wants to take them to, so he did not say anything that was derogatory about Eretz Yisrael. Shanema, it says, what did he say to the Yidden there and Yehuda? The one that wants from Shevet Yehuda, Ad boyi, until I'm coming, v'lekachti eschem, I will take you away from Eretz Yisrael. Where will I take you? El Eretz ka'artzachem. I'll take you to a land that's like Eretz Yisrael. So he didn't say I'm going to take you to a land that's more beautiful and better than Eretz Yisrael, because he didn't want to speak negative about Eretz Yisrael. That's how he was trying to convince the Yidden from Yehuda to leave, or from Shevet Yehuda, from Yerushalayim, to leave Eretz Yisrael. Now, about this, Rav Shmuel argued about this. Chadama, one says, Melech Pikeachaya, that this means that he was a wise king. The Chadama Melech Tipishaya. No, one says, no, this actually proves that he was a foolish king. Lamandama Melech Pikeachaya, the one that says he was a wise king, the reason it proves his wisdom is because if he will try to convince Yidden and say that I'll take you to a place that's better than your land in Eretz Yisrael, Amru, they won't believe him. They'll say, Kameshakris. They'll say, you're lying. And therefore he was wise. He said that it's another place that's as good as this land. The ones that say that he was a foolish king, by saying that I'll take you to another land that's as good as this land, so what is there to gain? Why would they want to leave? So he was foolish by offering this and saying this to the Yidden. Okay, now this is regarding what he offered to the Yidden, as I mentioned, from Shevet Yehuda. But now there was the ones from Aseres HaShvatim, the other 10 Shvatim that he took into Galus actually in that time. Lehecha Agli Lahu. Where did he take the ones of Aseres HaShvatim into Galus? Mazutra says La Afriki. He took them to Africa. Rab Chanina Omar La Hare Slug. He took them to Hare Slug. Others are going to say La Hare Shelek, to the mountains of snow. That's where he took the 10 Shvatim into Galus. This is a whole discussion in this Svarim that places that people try to figure out where the Aseres HaShvatim are, where they were taken to. Here it says Africa or Hare Shelek. Go try to figure out where this is. Okay, now Avol Yisrael, but the Yidden themselves, from the Aseres HaShvatim, when they came to the places where Sancherev exiled them to, Sipru B'Gnusa Shel Eretz Yisrael, they did speak about things that were in the negative, in the embarrassment of Eretz Yisrael. And here it brings the names of the places, that the names that they gave show what the Yidden said about these places. Kimatu, Shoish, when they came to this place that was called Shoish. Why was it called Shoish? Because Omri, they said, Shavya Ki Aran. This place is as good as our land, it's as good as Eretz Yisrael. Then Kimati Alman, they came to another place that's called Alman. Omru, they said Ki Alman, it's as good as Alman, which refers to Yerushalayim. Rashi says Yerushalayim is called Beis Olamim. So he said it's as good as Yerushalayim. Then Kimatu Shoish Trei, they came to a place that's called Shoish Trei. What this means is Omru al Chat Trein, that for one place in Eretz Yisrael, this place is double as good. So the Yidden did speak negatively about Eretz Yisrael when they came, and they said that this place is even better than Eretz Yisrael. Okay, now here continuing with the story of Sancherev regarding his downfall. The pasuk says, "V'sachas kvoda yikud yakud ki yakudesh," that below his glory there will be a fire that will burn up, and burn them up. It burned up. In other words, this is the army of Sancherev that got burnt. But what's this expression of tachas kvoda? Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Yochanan says, "Tachas kvodim v'loy kvodim mamish." The term of tachas kvodim would simply mean that below his kavod. What's the kavod of a person? The kavod of a person refers to his body. And tachas kavoda over here would mean below his body, meaning that their bodies themselves did not get affected or burnt. Rather, it's only below the body. But the Gemara darshans, no. It doesn't mean kavoda mamish. It doesn't mean the body. Rather, Kihad Rabbi Yochanan, Kikarele Lamanim Mechabdusi. Rabbi Yochanan, he referred to his garments as the ones that give me my honor. And therefore, according to the Pshat Gemara is saying here now, it means that they did get burnt, they did get destroyed, their bodies. It just means that below their clothing, the covet of their armor and their clothing that they were wearing, that did not get burnt, but their bodies got burnt. This is again the downfall of the army of Sanhedrin. But Rabbi Loza says Tachas Kvoidei Mamish. It does mean under their covet, which means below their bodies, meaning that their bodies did not get burnt. And this was similar to Sreifas B'nai Aaron, similar to what we find by the sons of Aaron. Mala Alan Sreifas Neshama V'Guf Kayim. There it was their neshama that was burnt, but their guf remained intact. Afkan Sreifas Neshama V'Guf Kayim. Here as well, their guf remained intact. The Gemara is not trying to compare it all to B'nai Aaron. It's a different thing altogether. But nevertheless, regarding this detail, that it's saying that their guf remained. Now, Tana Mishmei Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha was learned in the name of Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha. Paroi shechirif ba'atzmai. Paref spoke out himself against Hashem. Nifra Kadosh Baruch Hu mimenu ba'atzmai. Hashem punishes him himself. And Rashi explains that because Paroi himself speaks out against Hashem, so it's not as bad as we'll see what Sanhedrin did. So Hashem himself comes to punish him, and that's also not as terrible because when it's Hashem himself that is bringing the downfall of Paroi, it's not as embarrassing because it's Hashem himself that's coming to do this. However, by Sanhedrin, Shechiref al Yidei Shliach, Sanhedrin not only himself, but he also through others, through Shluchim, he spoke out against Hashem, which is more degrading, even lower than Paroi. Nifra Kadosh Baruch Hu mimenu al Yidei Shliach. So Hashem punishes him and brings his downfall, not even through Hashem himself coming, but through a shliach, which is a greater, more degrading and a greater downfall. The Chsiv Bey, it says by him, Mi Hashem eshma b'koilei. Who is Hashem that I should listen to his voice? And what happens? Nifra Kadosh Baruch Hu mimenu ba'atzmai. This is by Paroi. By Paroi, it's Paroi himself that speaks out against Hashem. So Hashem himself punishes Paroi, as it says, the Chsiv Bey Yanar Hashem es Mitzrayim. Hashem himself, by Kriyas Yamsuf, when they drown, Hashem himself causes them to drown. Oksiv, another pasuk it says, Dorachto bayam susecha v'goyim, referring to the Eibishter himself. However, Sanhedrin, the Chsiv, biyad malochecha, cherafto Hashem, in the hands of others that you sent to go and speak out against Hashem, Nifra HaKadosh Baruch Hu mimenu al yidei shliach. Hashem paid him back and punished him through a shliach. The Chsiv, the pasuk says, Vayetze malach Hashem vayach b'machna Ashur, that a malach came out and hit and caused the downfall of the entire camp of Ashur. Meya ushmainim chamisha elav v'gaimer, the 180,000 that is of his soldiers. Okay, now going back to other psukim here, in the beginning when Sanhedrin came to destroy the Beis HaMikdash, Rab Chanina bar Papa Rami, so he asked a contradiction in the expression of the pasuk. Siv, in one pasuk it says Marem Kitzai, that is coming to the Marem Kitzai. This is a term that's used on the Beis HaMikdash. That's the highest place in the world. But in another pasuk it says Malem Kitzai. Malem means a place where you live, and that he came to destroy the Beis HaMikdash. What is the meaning of these two different expressions? Amar say Rasha. So the answer is that Rasha Sanhedrin said, "B'tchila achrev dira shel mata." I will destroy the Beis HaMikdash here below, and according to Rashi, that's what Marem Kitzai means, the Beis HaMikdash below. V'achakach achrev dira shel maila, and then I will destroy the Beis HaMikdash above, that corresponds to the Beis HaMikdash below, and that's Malem Kitzai, where the Eibishter dwells above. And that means that he wanted to bring the Yidden to do Averis, which will cause not only the Beis HaMikdash here to be destroyed, but that also destroys the Beis HaMikdash Lamaila as well. Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Mai d'chsiv. What is the meaning of the pasuk where it says that Sanhedrin said, "Ato now, Hamib'ladei Hashem alisi el hamakom hazel ha'ashchisai"? Is it without the permission of Hashem that I'm coming to destroy this place? Hashem Omar Eli. Hashem said to me, "Alei el haaretz hazos v'eshchisa," that you should go up into this place and you should destroy it. So what does this mean? What did he hear from Hashem that he should come and destroy Eretz Yisrael? Ma'hi deshama lenavi dekama, because he heard that the Navi said to Yidden, Yan kimos amazes me shiluach ahilchem laat umasais esrotzin uben Ramalyahu. He's heard that the Navi is saying that the Yidden did not, they did not want. The Gemara is going to explain exactly now here what this pasuk means. But he heard this nevuah, so he understood that it's a time to come and destroy Eretz Yisrael and the Beis HaMikdash. Now, what exactly is this pasuk saying? Let's see. Who's the Navi then? This is Yeshaya, right? This is all Yeshaya, all these psukim. Amar Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef says, El Mali Targum the Haikra, if not for the Targum that there is on this pasuk, I wouldn't know what the meaning of this pasuk that we just read is. And here the Gemara brings the Targum of this pasuk. Chalaf, the Kotz, Amma, Hadeim, B'malchuse, the Beis David, that because the people that they despised, the kingdom of David, the Mad Melohaim Benayach, that they were being led by him very peacefully, Kemei Shilucha, like the water of the Mea Shiluach, which is a stream that flows very peacefully. The Nagdim Benayach, it flows peacefully. V'Isra'iyu, and instead, what do the Yidden look for? What do they want? Beratzin, in the individual by the name of Ratzin, which refers to, I believe, a king of Edom, and also Bar Amalia, one of the kings of the Malchi Yisrael, which his name, as Gemara is going to bring here, Pakach ben Ramalyahu. Him together with this king of Edom, of Ratzin, came to rebel against the Malchi Yehuda, and they wanted that better, and that's the Yidden despised and the Melucha that came from David HaMelech. That was the reason why Hashem gave permission for Sanhedrin to come to Eretz Yisrael. Amar Rabbi Yechanan said in connection to this, what's the meaning of the pasuk where it says, Me'eres Hashem beveis Rasha? It's the curse of Hashem in the house of a Rasha, v'nova tzadikim yivayrach, and the dwelling of tzadikim is blessed. What this means is, Me'eres Hashem beveis Rasha, where is there the curse of Hashem, Pakach ben Malyahu? This individual, Pakach ben Malyahu, as I mentioned, he was one of the kings of Malchi Yisrael, but he was a Rasha. Shaya oichel memsa goizalois, he would eat by the dessert of his meal. He would eat such a massive amount of birds, 40 saw, and he still wouldn't get full because he was a Rasha. So Hashem cursed him. But unveit tzadikim yivayrach, by the dwelling of a tzaddik, they're blessed. Zechizkiya melech Yehuda shaya oichel litra yerek pesuda. He would eat a little bit of vegetables in his meal, and he would be full. Now the pasuk says, L'chein, going back to Sanhedrin, L'chein hini Hashem ma'ila aleim. Hashem says, I will bring upon you esmei nor, the water of a river, hatzumim, a very strong river, v'harabim, es melech Asher. This is Sanhedrin, the king of Asher. Uksiv, and it says, v'chalav bi Yehuda, he came to Yehuda, shota v'over at savar, he came like a river, that water that comes up to the throat, yagia, it will come up all the way to the tzavar. That's the permission that Sanhedrin got, and he saw because of the Averis of Yidden that he came up to destroy the Beis HaMikdash. Now, what happened? So why did Sanhedrin have a downfall? Why was he punished for this? Because the answer is, Navi, when the Navi Yeshaya says, Aseres HaShvatim is Navi. He said in Nevuah for the 10 Shvatim, that they will be exiled and they will be destroyed. He, however, came to destroy the entire city of Yerushalayim as well, with Shevet Yehuda as well, and the Beis HaMikdash as well. That, the Nevuah wasn't, he didn't have permission for this. So, Ba Navi V'Amalei, the Navi, again? No, but not on the Beis HaMikdash though. Only on Aseres HaShvatim, and that Taki exiled them, but now he wasn't supposed to come and destroy the Beis HaMikdash. So Ba Navi V'Amalei, the Navi came and told him, Ki loy muaf la'asher mutzak lo. What does this pasuk mean? Amar Rabbi Elazar bar Brachya, Ein nimsar am oyev b'Torah. The nation that's tired from their toiling and learning Torah will not be given over biyad mi hametziklai, in the hands of the ones that is making it difficult and hard for Yidden, the ones that on Sanhedrin that placed a siege around the city of Yerushalayim. Now, what does the pasuk there when it mean what it says? And here we'll see the difference of what happened to the Aseres HaShvatim. They actually were exiled, and the ones from Shevet Yehuda that were not. Ka'eis harishain Hekel Arza Zvulun v'Arza Naftali v'Ha'achrain Hichbid Derech Hayam Ever Hayardin Galil Hagayim. What does this pasuk mean? So the Gemara darshans Loi Karishain. When it says Ka'eis harishain, it means not like the ones earlier on. And this is referring to the ones before from the Aseres HaShvatim. Shehakelu me'aleim el Torah. When it says in the pasuk Hekel Arza, what it means is that they made easy from upon themselves the yoke of Torah. And it mentions over there two of the Shvatim, from the Aseres HaShvatim, Zvulun and Naftali. But Aval Achrayim, then when the pasuk goes on and says V'ha'achrein hichbid, it means but the later ones, which refers to Yehuda, right? Sheichbidu alein el Torah. They made the yoke of Torah heavy upon themselves, as I mentioned before, that they were tired of learning Torah. V'ru'uyin halalu lasas lem nes. Then when the pasuk goes on to say derech hayam ever hayarden, it means that they were deserving that a miracle should happen to them. Like those that went through the Yam Suf and those that when they went through the Yarden to come into Eretz Yisrael. If he goes back, then it'll be good for him. This is referring to Sanhedrin. If he will return and not attack the Achrayim, the Yidden that are here now still in Eretz Yisrael, after he exiled as Aseres HaShvatim, if he will go back, it will be good. Then the continuation of the pasuk, it says in the pasuk Golil Hagayim, it means Ani Esalei Golil Bagayim. I will make him to be rolled down amongst the nations, meaning he will have his downfall. And that's what happened to Sanhedrin. And the pasuk says, there's another pasuk here. This is in Divrei Yomim actually, not in Yeshaya, where the pasuk there says that after these words and this truth, Sanhedrin melech Asher, the Sanhedrin, the king of Asher, came by Yavi Yehuda, and he came to attack Yehuda as well. He came and to the cities that were fortified, and he wanted to break open these cities. Levakam Elov. Because the Gemara asks, what does it mean that it says after these words and this truth he came? Hi Dishna lahai parshanda, that is. So the taich over here is, this is the gift for this minister. What it means is that after we said that the Yidden from Yehuda, they kept Torah, and they kept Torah very strongly with a strong yoke upon them. So this is the gift for these Yidden. This is what they deserve, that Sanhedrin should come upon them. So the Gemara says, no, it means something else. Achrei hadvarim ve'emes, what does it mean? It's going on something else. Amar Ravina says, La'achar shakafat HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'nishpa. Hashem jumped up and swore. And V'amar, he said as follows, that he swore that Sanhedrin is going to come and attack the Yidden and Yehuda. And he said, if I'm going to tell Chizkiah that my sinalei l'Sanhedrin, that Sanhedrin is going to come and is going to attack, and then but then he will be given over to you. He will not destroy the Yidden. On the contrary, he will have a downfall. So Hashta Omar, now he's going to come and say, Chizkiah is going to say, Lo Yehu be'ina, I don't want Sanhedrin to be given over into my hands. And I don't want to be afraid of him. I don't want him to come and attack us. So miyad kofat HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'nishpa. So that's what it means when it says Achrei advarim va'emes. Dvarim emes. Emes means that Hashem swore and he said to my sinalei that I'm going to bring Sanhedrin to attack the Yidden. Shanem, as the pasuk says, Nishba Hashem tzvais leimar im loy kasha demisi kein hoisa v'kasha yatzti hi token lishbar asher ba'artzi. That, like I said, that it will be like my plan was that Sanhedrin will come and attack the Yidden, and then Asher, the king Sanhedrin and his army will be broken in my land, Val Hori, and on my mountains in Eretz Yisrael. Avusenu, he will be defeated, and V'sar ma'aleim ulai, and their yoke of Sanhedrin and Asher will be removed of Yidden, V'sivlai, and the suffering from him al shichmai from on themselves, Yasser will be removed. So this is Hashem swore. Hashem swore that Sanhedrin will come, and then he will have his downfall. Now the Gemara teaches here one of the expressions that it says in this pasuk, Va'al Hari Avusenu, Amar Rabbi Yechanan, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Eibusha says, Yavai Sanhedrin v'siyatoi. Let Sanhedrin with his whole army come, and V'yasa Avos l'Chizkiyahu l'siyatoi. And he's going to become an Avos, which means that he's going to become like food that's fed to animals, and for Chizkiah and his army. And this is when they got burnt and they got their whole downfall, and then their bones were left there to be eaten by the animals. And then the pasuk goes on to say that they will be removed from Yidden, and it says also that v'chubal oil mipnei shemen, and Hashem will break the yoke of the king of Asher that was on Yidden because of what? Because of shemen, which literally means because of oil. What does this mean? What was the schus that the Shevet Yehuda they had that Sanhedrin did not have any koyach against them? Amar Rabbi Yitzchak Nafche, Chuval oil shel Sanhedrin, the yoke of Sanhedrin was broken mipnei shamnoi shel Chizkiyahu, because of the oil of Chizkiyahu. What did he do? Shayedoilik bebatik nesiyas bebatim midrashais, that he lit the candles in the Beis HaKnesses, the Beis HaMedrash, for the Yidden to come to daven and learn. Now, what did he do? He did even more. Ma'asa. What did he do? Noatz cherem al Pesach Beis HaMedrash. He stuck in a sword at the door of the Beis HaMedrash, and he announced and said, Kol mi she'eino isik b'Torah, whoever is not going to come and learn Torah, yidaker b'cherev, will be killed by this sword. Cherev zu, that is, this sword. So then, in the times of Chizkiyahu, when he did this, Batku, Midon, Va'ad Be'er, they checked from Dan all the way to the other side of Eretz Yisrael, Be'er-Shava. V'leimatzu Am Haaretz, they didn't find an Am Haaretz. Migeves, Va'ad Antifris, also two different towns in Eretz Yisrael. V'leimatzu Tinik V'tinaikis, Ish V'isha, they didn't find a child or a man or a woman, Shle'hai V'kiyim B'ilchas Tumah V'tara, that weren't Baki in all the halachas of Tumah and Tara, which are the most difficult halachas. That's what he accomplished in his time. It's regarding that generation that the pasuk says in Yeshaya, that the Yidden in that time they lived with having a calf and 2 sheep, which means that they were happy and satisfied with even having very little. V'amar, and it also says in the pasuk, or V'aymer, another pasuk says, V'haya b'yayma hu yiyeh kal makom asher yisham. In all the places the Yidden were, they had elef gefen, be'elef kesef, they had a lot of vineyards, 1,000 vineyards worth 1,000 silver coins, but u'lishamir u'lishis yiyeh, which means that Afa Pisha Elef Gefen Be'elef Kesef, they had so much in the vineyards, but nevertheless L'Shamir or L'Shis Yiyeh, which means that they left it empty, they didn't even attend to it, they didn't use it because they were busy learning Torah. Okay, now then the pasuk goes on to say, after the downfall of Sanhedrin, that V'Oisev Shlolchem, that you gather there, you go ahead and gather your loot from the army, Oisef HaChosel, like a chosel, which is a grasshopper that gathers. What is this example? What does it mean? Amalam Navi Yisrael. Navi tells Yidden, Ischu Shlalchem, go and gather your loot. Amrulai. So they asked them, Liv Zais? Could each one just go and plunder and take for himself whatever he wishes? Or do we have to take it and then bring it and then divide it amongst the Yidden? Amalam, so therefore he told them, like a grasshopper that takes for himself. Just like when the grasshoppers are eating in a field, everyone takes for himself. Everyone can take for himself whatever he wants. But the Yidden then asked the Navi and said, but Sanhedrin took everything away from the 10 Shvatim that he exiled, and there's money from those 10 Shvatim that are here within what we're going to take. So are we allowed to take from this that belongs to the Asheres HaShvatim? Amalehem, so he answered them, and he said this is what it says there also in Yeshaya, that Kemeshek or Kemeshek gave him Sheikikpai. What does this mean? Gave him? Gave him means like a pool of water. Ma gave him a lolu, just like a pool of water. Mailin es adam mitum latara. Person tovels in a mikveh, tovels in the water, so he becomes pure. Af mamayim shel Yisrael, the money of the Yidden of these 10 shvatim, kivin shenafa miyad evikachavim miyatir. Once it falls into the hands of Sanhedrin and they conquered and they took this money, so then it doesn't belong to the Aseret HaShvatim anymore. Some say that this is because of this is the way it is by a war and by an army that conquers and takes their kaina, and it doesn't belong to the Aseret HaShvatim anymore. Others say this is because Yush, they're Miyayish, they ran away. They were exiled. The Aseret HaShvatim were not there, so they were able to take all of their possessions from the army. In some girsas you have here that it's similar to what it says in another place, that by Ammon and Moav, the Yidden were not allowed to attack Ammon and Moav, but when Sichain came and conquered Ammon and Moav, so now it was already purified for Yidden that they were able to attack and take from Sichain, because it didn't belong to Ammon and Moav anymore. So it's a similar concept.